What's up, family? This is the Black Hot Fire Network, the media of the 21st century. And of course, this is the diary of a young black king. Welcome to the show. It's 13:30 East African time on the 17th of August 2024. And that is Musa Jakadala with Hera Remo. Hera Remo. I don't even know what the song says. It's a Luo song. Just put a vibe to it. Hera Remo. There's just something about Luo. I just can't explain, but there's just something about Luo that makes it universal. You don't have to understand this to know that Musa Jakadala is Heraremoing, whatever that means. Shout out to all the Luo people, and the Kenyan people, and the African people, because we are just but one. So, and of course, today we are going to be talking about a very, very interesting conversation. It's a rather cold day in Nairobi. It's a really cold day. It has been a cold season in Nairobi, especially for me. I have not been in Nairobi for a while. So coming back to Nairobi, of course, baridi imenilima. So of course, remember to dress warm. Pneumonia is not a joke. Remember to use mosquito nets if you live near water sources, because right now vile kunanyesha, it's more likely for you to get mosquito bites because they love it. They love this weather. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Black Hot Fire Network, Black Hot Fire Radio, the media of the 21st century. Sparking an Pan-African renaissance is our main objective. We talk Africa, we preach Africa, we eat Africa, because we are Africa and Africa is our business. And before anything else, I'm just but an African. I'm an African first, a Kenyan second. So big shout out to Musa Jakadala with Hera Remo as we get ready to start the show. Just setting up a few things here there so that I can get into the show. We're gonna be looking at Jimmy Wanjigi, especially will be our focal point of analysis as we look at Africa's odious debt. Are we overpaying on our debts? Are we underpaying? Have we overquoted our debts, or have we underquoted our debts? So we're going to be looking at the numbers. We're going to be breaking down the numbers. We're going to be looking at the reasons. I told you I don't even know what the song is saying. It's a Luo song, but Luo is universal. Whatever Musa Jakadala was saying in this song, I agree. So as I said, we're going to be doing a breakdown of Africa's debt. The numbers, who exactly do you owe what? And of course, we're going to be looking at some of the debts that are maturing or have matured over the last couple of months, and the ones that are also maturing. The countries that have defaulted, why did they default? And what does that mean for their economy? Talking about the likes of Ghana. Before we even talk about defaulting, do we actually even need the loans in the first place? So those are some of the questions that we're gonna be asking ourselves. So stay with me for the next one. I'm gonna be sourcing our information more so from John Perkins, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. We're also going to be quoting a lot of Jimmy Wanjigi. Like I said, he was a presidential aspirant, and he did a whole show on Africa's, especially Kenya's odious debt. His words. So most of the things that I'm gonna report are from that show, as he explains on Africa's and Kenya's, because Kenya is just but a template of Africa. If you look at the problems that one country is facing, it's the same for all the others. So he talked about, amongst other things, our internal debt, our external debts. What does it mean when we talk about internal borrowing? When we say Kenya has an internal debt of 800 billion, is it that we owe internally that much? And what does it mean for the external debts? And what does it mean to default on a loan? Is it a good thing? Is it something that more African countries should be looking at? What Ghana, Ethiopia did to default on its loans and on its bonds. And so those are some of the fundamental questions that we're going to be asking ourselves. And as I said, most of the numbers, statistics, and everything that I'm going to be using are from Jimmy Wanjigi's podcast with Spice FM. So in case of any misquoting or any fact check, you do that with Jimmy Wanjigi. Africa's total external debt is approximately 900 billion USD. That is statistics from 2022. It's 2024. So Africa's total debt might have hit a billion USD. Not a billion, a trillion, I mean, sorry, because it's at 900 billion. It was at 900 billion in 2022. The total global debt is estimated to be around 307 trillion. This includes governments, corporates, household debts in both developed and developing countries. So the total global debt is at 307 trillion. Out of that, as I said, Africa's debt is at a trillion. So among the questions that we're going to be asking ourselves today is, if the whole world has a debt, you look at every country in the world has a debt, and you're talking about a debt of 307 trillion, then who is it that we exactly owe? Who is it that when we default, who is it that we actually defaulting against? Who loaned us the money in the first place? So we're going to be looking at that and much more. Of course, you can interact with me in the comments. That is on YouTube. Also on our website, www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. This is the Black Hot Fire Network, the media of the 21st century. Of course, this is the more. So we're gonna start by looking at Jimmy Wanjigi, like he had promised. He was a presidential aspirant and one of Kenya's most thorough economists. And we're gonna be looking at his analysis of Africa's debt and why he thinks that Kenya is overquoting on its debt. So there are two schools of thought in matters debt. There's one group of people that believes that Africa is overquoting on its debt, that most African countries have actually overquoted on their debt. That is, if, for example, it's the total African debt is at 900 billion, it might actually be lower, much lower than that. But now, corrupt politicians in corrupt countries have overquoted the debt to that magnitude so that they can be able to steal money in pretense that they are paying back the debts. That is one school of thought. It is the school of thought that Jimmy Wanjigi subscribes to. Then there's the other school of thought that thinks Africa is underquoting on its debt. And the reason Africa is underquoting on its debt is because politicians and corrupt leaders have taken other debts that are not on public record. What I mean is, you might go to, it's just but an example, you go to a country like Cameroon, you find that the president took a loan that is not in public record and used the money for his own personal consumption. So because of course it's not money that was in any public record, it can't be accounted, even it never passed through the exchequer, it can't be accounted for by the treasury. So now they underquote on their debts massively to hide the money that they borrowed for personal consumption. So you find Africa's total debt position being at 900 billion might be underquoted. We might actually be owing more. But now, because most of the money is unaccounted for, they can't quote it in the debt. So those are the two school of thoughts that we have in matters debt in Africa. There is one that believes we underquote our debt. There is another one that believes we overquote our debt. I don't know which one you believe. I don't know which one you think is true. But Jimmy Wanjigi believes that we overquoted our debt as Kenyans and Africans. He actually believes that Africa paid its debt to totality. Especially in regards to Kenya, he believes Kenya has paid back all its debt and has now been overpaying. So money is transferred into private accounts in the pretense that they are going to pay back debts. So
Parliament passed loans, foreign and external loans of 313 billion. But a month later, the National Treasury gazetted external loans of 870 billion and domestic loans of 690 billion.
So that is what I was talking about, his school of thought. He believes that the Kenyan government overquotes on its debt in Africans. So you find that, for example, in that scenario that he's giving, the parliament approved a 300 billion debt, the government took an 800 billion one.
Bringing their total debt this financial year to almost 1.6 trillion. So I don't know whether they are trying to adjust themselves to slowly ease in some facts which are not quite true in relation to the budget. But what Treasury did and what the National Assembly did were two different things. So it's like we have two budgets. Now, if you see the domestic debt of 690, they have 374 billion shillings that is going towards redemptions. Those are rollovers of debt previously taken, maturities. Now, what I'm understanding, and I think this may have been triggered by a lot of our discussions.
So the rollovers, the maturities that it's talking about is, an example is the one that made Ghana default, the one that made Kenya almost default. Before that is it was loaned some money to pay. So the maturities of the rollovers are when you take a debt, when you take some of these debts that we borrow, comes in terms of different things. Sometimes they come in terms in form of bonds that mature. They have a maturity date when it's supposed to be paid back.
They have been triggered by the amount of tax revenue going to debt, the questions of insolvency. But one of the biggest triggers was in November, where Standard Chartered Bank said 52% of our bonds we are liquidating, even if it's at a loss of about 2 billion shillings. And it has continually done that. Other banks are following suit. So what is happening now is that this 374 billion in redemptions, people don't want to roll over. They want their cash. Bondholders, whether it's banks, insurance companies, pensions, individuals, want their cash. And that has precipitated a total drawdown on the overdraft facility at CBK, because when government does not have cash to pay those redemptions, it takes an overdraft at CBK.
And what's the limit at CBK?
It is 5% of the previous year's audited accounts. So that is 91 billion. Today, it is at 95 billion. It is at 95. So they have no more leeway.
And the redemptions are 378.
Yes, they have no more leeway. So I can tell you in the next month or two, as a maximum, you are going to have a crisis on domestic debt of untold proportions.
What would that mean? And this is the thing, you know, we talk about some.
Wanjigi is talking about, even before we talk about the external debt, which is a big problem we have in Africa, which projections show that more African countries might default on their loans, which we're going to talk about later on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and whether we should be talking about more Africans defaulting their loans and refusing to pay them back, even though the ones that defaulted did not refuse to pay them back, they just were not able to, they couldn't afford to. So for the internal debts, these are the ones that the government sells, especially in terms of bonds, where it sells bonds and then to raise money, and it's a way of, a bond is almost like a way of lending to the government. So Wanjigi says that over the past couple of months, Kenyans have been refusing to roll over their bonds, and instead they've been asking to get cash for their bonds, for lack of a better term. They've been asking to cash out their bonds. And so now, because of that, the government has now been forced to run to the CBK to get an overdraft. The CBK is the Central Bank of Kenya. So they are running there to get an overdraft of money, so that an overdraft is asking for money you don't have. So to get an overdraft so they can be able to settle the people who want to cash out their bonds, which the government had been hoping would be rolled over, because in that way it will be easier for the government to be able to continue with its initiatives through, that is, from the internal borrowing, because governments borrow internally and externally. But now, because of what Wanjigi is talking about, Kenyans wanting to cash out their bonds, and this being the situation in many other African countries, now the government is forced to run to the CBK to get an overdraft so they can be able to pay back the bonds. And that creates an internal debt crisis.
All these things, Jimmy. We say, oh, domestic debt, and it sounds really fiscally,
Complicated.
I mean, my goodness. So how does that play out? What do we see when we say we're going to have a crisis on domestic debt?
It means a default.
Meaning, how does the average Kenyan CT?
So one of the ways that it's going to affect the average Kenyan, especially with the domestic borrowing, that is, if the government was to default on its domestic bonds, those are the ones that it has borrowed from Kenyans themselves, from internally, before even go externally, is it would affect the banking sector in a big way, because the banking sector is dependent on the CBK. It's actually controlled and managed and run and regulated by the CBK. The CBK is the Central Bank of Kenya. And when I talk about Kenya, I'm talking about the whole of Africa, just using Kenya as a template, because I know it's the same case. When you go to Uganda, you're going to find maybe the UBK, if they have that, the Ugandan bank, or whatever they might call it. If you go to Nigeria, they have their central bank, the Central Bank of Nigeria. So the government and the banks rely on the CBK. So the moment we have an internal domestic a default, the government defaults, we've not yet gotten to external debts. We're going to get there. Right now we're talking about the internal domestic debts that most African governments have. They owe not only the Bretton Woods, but their people. For them to run, they need to borrow externally and internally. So you're talking about defaulting on domestic loans. How that is going to affect the economy, off my head, the biggest way will be, it is going to bring down, it's going to affect, it's going to paralyze the banking sector, because the banking sector is reliant on the CBK, which I don't know, I don't want to go in much further into the details on what the CBK does and where it gets its money from and everything. But in layman's, the banks get their money from the CBK sometimes. That is why for most banks, even if you want to withdraw a lump sum amount, they'll tell you to give a notice before, because the banks bank with the CBK. And for the fact that the government has to get an overdraft, that is going to reduce circulation. That is off my head. I don't know what Wanjigi talked about, how the internal defaulting of loans is going to affect the country. But I know, for one, it's going to affect the banking sector in a big way. And the banking sector runs economies. If you don't know, every other aspect of economy in any country is reliant on the banking sector. That go to agriculture, farmers need the large scale farmers who produce in bulk need the banks to get money for, they are reliant on the banks. You go to manufacturing, the big manufacturers are reliant on the banks. They get overdrafts on the bank, they use the banks to pay salaries, they use the banks to obtain loans to expand. You go even to the small entrepreneurs who startups, they still rely on the banks for credit, they still rely on the banks for, so the banking sector is the backbone of any economic architecture. Once you paralyze the banking sector, then you've paralyzed the entire economic architecture. So defaulting internally is going to affect the whole economic architecture because it's going to affect the banking systems. The banking system being what runs the economy, even from the government in itself, is reliant on the same. Let's hear what Wanjigi had to say about that.
Feel it. How do you feel it when you say that there's a crisis of domestic debt? Kenya has defaulted on its payment responsibility. What would that mean?
What does that mean? A pain of untold proportion. And it starts this way. The first thing with a crisis of domestic debt is a bank crisis. You have an immediate banking crisis. The banks are threatened with the possibility of closure. Now, in countries like Lebanon, in countries like Argentina, banks closed. Lebanon closed from 2019 until earlier last year. So it means that you have no access to your revenue of your money. You have no transactions you can do with local banks. That's a huge crisis. To save banks from closing, Ghana did what you call debt distress exchange. So they said, we are going to remove a certain amount of people's deposits, a certain amount of your bonds, of your debts, and pass it on to you and I, the sovereign. In Ghana, it was 30%. So if you had deposits in your bank of 10,000 shillings,
You give it 3.
you 3 went. If you had foreign exchange, it was turned into shillings immediately, and 30% was
went.
removed. Now in Ghana, it has gone to 35%. They increased another 5%. Now, it then creates what you call an inflation year in September.
How exactly does that help the government? You have reduced, essentially, you've plummeted the value of whatever it is that I have by 30%. That's not even 30% not a reduction, it's plummeting.
It's plummeting, yes.
Yes. So how does that help the government?
You see, who is the sovereign?
The people.
So who is responsible for the debt? Right. So they come for you. Just like this government is coming for you for taxation.
That is why I laughed the other day when I saw a video of a Tanzanian MP telling Tanzanian citizen they should not be worried about the debts because there is no single day that somebody is going to knock on your door and ask you to pay back your money. And the Tanzanians were clapping, and the MP was telling them, don't worry about the debts. It's not your debt, it's the government's debt. Nobody is ever going to come knock at your door to ask for money. But that was a lie. When it reached a point that Ghana reached, when it reaches a point of the country defaulting in regards to internal borrowing, in regards to domestic debts, the government might come up with debt relief strategies that include taking part of your money because you're the one who borrowed. Because once the president goes to borrow, he does not sign as himself, he signs as the Kenyan people. He does not sign it as an individual, he signs as a representative of the Kenyan people. So when he is given 10 billion, what is going to be, it's going to translate to Kenyan people have been given 10 billion. It might never reach the Kenyan people, the Ugandan people, the Tanzanian people, but the books read the Kenyan people. So that is why Ghana, they had to go, their debt relief strategy, they even had to go towards even deducting money from people who had stored money in their banks. That is why somebody was raising an alarm and telling Kenyans to withdraw their money from banks. I don't want to raise the alarm myself. I'm just going to give you facts, and then you're going to determine for yourself whether it is safe for you to still have your money in the bank or do you want to keep it in your house. So I'm not gonna don't want to raise no alarm. I'm just gonna give facts as they are. So sometimes it's possible for that to happen because of the government not having enough, majorly from the overdrafts that it gets from the CBK. If it overdrafts on its overdraft, if there's such a term, then it reaches a point where in a point of desperation, the government might have to look for money, and it's not going to look for money when the money is there. And don't you forget that oftentimes, banks bank with the CBK. The CBK is the regulator of the Kenyan banking system. Don't want to again go deep into that and the whole economic imperialism. Today, let's look at it from a layman's perspective so that we can understand it in layman's. Let's not even go towards the imperialism and who really controls the banking systems and everything. Let's look at it from layman's eye, so that you can be able to understand it in layman's, and you can be able to make wise decisions, especially with this current economic turmoil that is happening in Africa. I would call it turmoil because it's a turmoil. I can name off 10 African countries that might default on their loans very soon. I can talk about Nigeria. I can talk about possibility of Kenya. I can talk about Ethiopia, which already has defaulted and it's gonna default again. So that is why we need to understand some of these economic terminologies and how the economic architecture works, so that you don't think that it's the government that owes the money, it's not me, so my money is safe. It doesn't matter whether Kenya defaults. The fact is, if your country defaults on its loans, you're the ones who's gonna be affected for the most. Should we be defaulting on our loans? Probably, maybe, definitely we should be talking about defaulting on our loans, because at the end of the day, they are loans that, one, never helped the people, two, we never needed, three, were imposed on us through economic imperialism, as stated by John Perkins in his book. So defaulting on the loans, it's not something that we should be worried about as Africans on one hand, but it's a thing we should be worried about on the other hand. I don't know how to explain and bring that home, but it's that double-edged, because one, we're paying for debts that we never really helped us in one hand. They only benefited a few individuals, and what we were given was unbacked, valueless cash in exchange for more value that they took from, especially, and you might wonder how they take that from us. It's when they do asset-backed loans, they call it mineral-backed loans. They don't like using the word mineral, so they say asset-backed loans, which we have about 7 or 8 that I know of here in Africa. The asset mineral-backed loans, where they ask you to back your loan using maybe an airport, maybe a port, maybe a game park, maybe a national reserve, maybe a gold mine. So it's the reason why majority of DR Congo's mines are operated by the Chinese. Not because the Congolese people want it, but there's nothing they can do. They signed off their mines in exchange for loans that maybe were eaten by the likes of Mobutu Sese Seko years ago. But now, because with the current economic architecture, it was not possible for the people of DRC to pay back the debts. Now, Congo did not even invade; it just lands the papers and take over the mines because it was signed. And as I said, remember, don't you ever talk about Museveni borrowed. Museveni does not borrow. The Ugandan people do. He is a representative of the Ugandan people. That is what they believe. That is what it shows. So that is why, for example, in Kenya, we are paying debts that were borrowed by President Moi, who died years ago, but we're still paying for it. So don't you ever say Moi borrowed, Museveni borrowed, Tinubu borrowed. When he signs that debt paper, it's not him borrowing, it's the people. And so if you don't pay, they're not going to come for Tinubu, they're going to come for the Nigerian people. And when I say they're going to come for the Nigerian people, it's not even theoretical, it's something they've done. I give an example with DRC. You can look at the Central African Republic with the blood diamonds. It was a similar situation where loans, resource-backed loans, you are forced to sign resource-backed loans. I don't want to go back into explaining why they forced you to sign resource-backed loans, because I did that over the weekday, where they will undervalue your credit score. They'll make loaning to you look so risky that they won't want to give it to you, and now you'll be the desperate one because they've already told you loaning to you is too risky, we're not going to do it. But now, because you need the money, or so because the architecture has been made to make you dependent on the loans, you're already in a hole, and you can't get off a hole. In reality, you can't get off a hole in one day. You climb up, you don't jump up. So with the architecture, you go begging for the loans because they told you you do not qualify for one. They're going to term you as very risky. They have those financial terms that they use in matters, credits, for example, speculative, high risk. So they're going to put you at high risk. And now, because you're at high risk and you're desperate, they're going to tell you, we do not trust you with the money. We do not see an avenue where you're going to pay the money from. So the only thing we can do is, how about you back your request with a resource so that we can be able to trust you with the money. Now they give you 100 billion and you back it with your gold mine. And now the next thing that comes is making sure you won't be able to pay that 100 billion, because the 100 billion they'll give you will come with clauses and guidelines and directives like do away with the fuel subsidies, directions like stop public service hiring for the next 1 year, clauses like introduce toll on roads, clauses like double taxation on business permits, clauses like tax even on cancer treatment, tax even the sanitary pads. And therefore now, because the only way a government raises money to pay debts is by revenue collection, what you don't realize is that they're lying to you that they're creating a revenue collection avenues for you, but instead they're blocking them, because once you've doubled business permits, the money I used to pay for a business permit has been doubled, I'm going to close down my business. And the government loses a revenue avenue. Once you double on drugs, you double the VAT on drugs, I'm not going to use the drugs anymore. The government loses VAT that I was paying. Once you add the fuel subsidy, you do away with the fuel subsidies. Now I won't be able to afford driving my car because now fuel is too expensive for me, so I park my car at home. The government loses even the VAT that it was getting before. So the government, instead of it adding to its revenue collection avenues, deducts. And now it won't have any money to pay back, because the only way you pay back is by revenue collection. Ideally, that is how you're supposed to pay back your debts, by revenue collection. You collect money, you pay back the debts. But because of the directive guidelines and clauses that come with the loans, it's impossible to raise enough money to pay, for example, the 1.3 trillion that Kenya is seeking to borrow. The 3 trillion that Ethiopia was given, it is impossible for them to raise that amount of revenue. Where from? What avenues will it use to raise that amount of money? So what that means is, now the Ethiopian government will be left with only two options. One, borrow to pay debt, or two, default. Borrowing to pay debt is advantageous to them still, to the ones who loaned you, because now they're going to give you another debt and call it a package. They call it a debt relief package. They're going to give you a debt relief package like the one they gave to Ghana and Egypt and Ethiopia and Nigeria and CAR. They're going to give you a debt package, and the debt relief package they give, and I think Keith joined me, the debt relief package they give you is another loan with higher interests. So now you take a loan with higher interest to pay the first loan that you took that had interest in itself. So now you're paying two debts with interests on it. That is the first option, which most African countries go for. Alternatively, if you do not go for that, then you default, they come for your resources that you had indicated as security when you're taking the loans. Still advantageous for them, because even if you don't default right now and you take another loan to pay the first one, at the end of the day, it's going to catch up with you and you're going to default at one point or the other. You can just postpone the defaulting. The defaulting is constant. You'll have to default at one point or the other because you can't raise enough money from your substandard exports and your business environment that you made and conducive.
Now you understand the scam. Now
Right?
you understand the scam.
Mhm.
You listed out so well. So what the Maury is saying also, let me put a caveat with what the Maury is saying. He's intelligent enough to understand. He doesn't also understand that the leaders they put there beforehand were all morons. So they didn't understand even what they were getting into. They didn't understand the sophistication of what the Maury just said about being put in debt. He didn't understand any of this. He thought, oh, yes, the white man, I'll do it. I'll give me some money. Because the Maury now does not have a childlike mind. It's hard to fathom that he understands that his ancestors, these puppets, were all childlike in the head. So they were easily manipulated. They didn't have any knowledge of how the real world works and how predatory the European actually was. They just thought that, well, they'll be honest and we'll do debt and we'll pay it back. And no, it's not even a debt system. It's an enslavement system to keep the same shit that I got when I had you enslaved during colonialism. I never intended you to ever, develop. That was never the thing. And so, like the Maury's saying, even with the Chinese coming in, oh, the Chinese would be better. No, the Chinese don't know that you're still a moron. So the Chinese did the same shit. Chinese came in, they don't care who governs the country, but they want the resources at little nothing prices and to control your shit. Because Africa's the wealthiest place on the planet. And I know you're a moron and you're despotic and you're corrupt. So throw a little money in front of you niggas' faces and you'll sell me your mother's old underwear. Okay? You'll do it. Mm-hmm. So but the more he just explains so eloquently, it's a system that there's allowed to thrive in Africa. So I waited for him. I went back to sleep. He came on late. I waited for him at 4:30. I said, he ain't on. They said, I fell back to sleep. I was like,
I actually started late deliberately because I knew you would not wake up at that time.
Okay, because I figured he wasn't going to come on. I said, he ain't coming on shit. It's 4:30. He ain't on. I'm going back to sleep, goddammit. So, so what he's saying is, and it's been a system, and sadly, it's been these Jays and Europeans are so dastardly because you think you have some kind of like sympathy that you wouldn't want to prey on. It's like preying on children. You think a moral person doesn't prey on children, but they're immoral by nature. A moral person doesn't prey on children, and what I mean by that is mentally. The Africans with childlike minds, and they know it. They write about it. They laugh about it in the papers about these Africans. They're stupid. They're backward. The children are gonna rob the shit out these morons. So it took generations for you to get a demore. There's generations, but now where does the more go? Because now the country's been plunged in absolute debt. Only thing changes this. I hate to tell you, is revolution. It's Ibram Toure way. Revolution is the only thing that changes this. Revolution, that's it. Because that's the only thing that's going to change this. Because the system itself is criminal. The system is criminal. It's not based on any egalitarian nature. It's criminal. So if the system is criminal, I have the right as a human being to not pay your shit and to overturn it because it's criminal at its nature. I'm supposed to give you all of my shit for some fake paper. It's criminal, and because some moron signed it, like Demore said 50 years ago before I was even born, I'm supposed to live in perpetuity paying this bad debt. Oh no. The only avenue I got is revolution. That's what I got. Okay? And say all these loans are null and void. All of them. See, the Europeans, he's slick. He said, because he knows eventually you're going to try to overthrow his ass. And if you do, he put in his international, if you do happen to overthrow my puppets, you're still responsible for the loans that my puppets put in. That's in their international law. But I say, you know what? I'm not subject to your international law because I wasn't there at the table when you created your fucked up law. So your law does not apply to me. I wasn't at the table when you wrote this law because you knew eventually somebody was going to revolt and revolution was going to come. And you was like, eventually, just about human nature, somebody's going to overthrow our ass. And it's just going to happen because it's criminal. So I'm going to write in my own international law that I write. See, you don't have to, fam, you never had to agree with their international laws. They never had you at the table to agree with their fucked up laws. So I'm now writing my international law. If you do happen to get free, all debts are still owed to me with your new government, even after you get free. Go ahead.
And the fact that these people are very strategic with their planning, you have to give that to them because, for example, you look at how they make the architecture is to make sure that you not only have enough money to pay them back, but you also don't have enough money for yourself. They make sure that you only default on the external debt that they gave you, that is from the Bretton Woods institutions,
Right.
but you also default on the domestic one that you borrowed from your people because the government does borrow from the people in terms of bonds, in terms
Bonds.
of
Bonds. Yeah.
they'll make sure even that one you won't be able to pay back to the people who gave it to
No,
you.
because you won't be able to pay back because your whole economic structure is set up wrong because they have enough. Because you have the only way, family, when you make money, real money, you must make shit. You must manufacture. So what they've done, make sure Africans can't manufacture their own fucking resources. So that right there alone will always keep economies are based on, fam. This is easy. Okay, it's not rocket science. You must make shit. You must make cars, toasters, coats, shoes, socks, glasses, shit, whatever. You must make shit to give your economy a substantial power or substantial reality. You must make shit. Okay? That means the making up things stabilizes your currency, but they make sure Africa doesn't make shit. So now they come, you know what, you don't make shit. We need to devalue your currency. So now they devalue your currency so they can easily steal more shit from you because your currency's fucked up. They say you don't make anything. So your currency's not worth anything. There's no value behind. There's no value back. You say, well, what about my minerals? Well, your minerals are not really yours. We mine them. So no, we're not gonna let you back your minerals with your currency. No, we're not gonna do that. Because you get that, we wouldn't be able to afford them. And so then we have to come in, and kill you. Then we have to come in and economic hitman your ass. So go ahead.
Yeah.
More.
And if you want to see a perfect example of what Keith is explaining, look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia was given a package of 3 trillion. Was it 3? No, 3 billion. I'm not sure. 3 billion USD by the IMF. But the condition was they had to first and foremost devalue their currency. That's what.
Of course.
Yeah. So and once they did, because they were given the money, and that is why you wonder if you look at African countries. The economy grows on paper and it grows massively. You go to even Ghana, Gambia, they're going to tell you, I don't know, our economy grew by 4%. And you try to look at the 4%, you can't see it anywhere. It doesn't translate
That's
anywhere.
That's why
But
I told you
on paper, they grow.
I told you that fake percentage shit they do.
Mm. That's because the economy really has been flooded by, for example, in Ethiopia, they were given that much amount of money. I think it was 3 billion, if I'm not wrong, 3 billion USD. So that money is going to flood the Ethiopian market, for lack of a better word, the Ethiopian economy. But now the problem is you convert that into Ethiopian birrs, which is the currency in Ethiopia, which has been devalued. Then the money becomes almost valueless too. So you find that you look at the money that got into Ethiopia and left Ethiopia last year, and you're going to see good numbers, and you're going to think Ethiopia is doing amazing. I mean, the 3 billion was circulating in Ethiopia last year. But then you forget that the Ethiopian government will have to convert the money that it was given in USD. It will have to convert it into birrs so that it can be able to operate in it. Even if it's stealing, even if they want to steal, they can't steal it unless they're keeping it offshore. They'll have to convert it into the Ethiopian currency first. That is, if they want to do any project or anything. Then after 2-3 years, as the debt is maturing, they'll have to reconvert it back to the USD to pay back the debts, because the Bretton Woods are not taking Nigerian naira. No, you have to give it back to them if they gave it to you in pounds, they gave it to you in dollars. So your money lost value when you converted it the first time into a local currency for you to be able to transact with it, and it lost value the second time you converted it to the currency that you are loaned with so that you can pay back. So you end up receiving 3 billion but paying back 5, and you wonder why. That is without even factoring in the interests. So it's all very, very strategic, and then it's also naive and ignorant and stupid, some of the things we do. For example, I said Africa's total debt is about a trillion USD, about a trillion. And Africa collects about 800 billion a year in totality. So you wonder, you borrow as a country, you know that the highest, the revenue collection in my country, because of course I do not produce anything of significant value. I've made the business environment too hard for people to run businesses. I have not created employment opportunities for people, so I don't even collect enough pay from the people. I have made farming inputs so expensive that farmers cannot be able to farm and sell their products and pay taxes. So you know very well, you collect a trillion in terms of revenue per year. Then you go and borrow 2.5 trillion. How do you expect to raise an additional 1.5 trillion to pay back the debt if you are raising a trillion before? Where do you want the 1.5 additional trillion to magically appear from?
It can't appear from anything. And that's on purpose, guys. That's how you keep Africa enslaved, backwards, and undeveloped. That's on purpose. I need African undeveloped so I can keep robbing and stealing from it so I can develop me and my shit. So that's why. That's why. Like if you just look at images of like I said, images of I always use this for example. Let me do this real quick. I always use it as an example. Let me do this real quick. Let me do this. Let's see. Let me do this. Images of Europe after World War II devastation. So I always do this right here. Now, at the end of World War II, Europe could not feed, house, or clothe itself. Okay, let me share my screen. Let me share this. So explain to me now, how is Europe developed and Africa still isn't? Let me screen share. Do this. So if you look at this, it wasn't just Europe. It was Asia. So this was Europe. Let me just take some bunch of my pictures and take these bunch of these pictures. Okay, this was Europe, guys. After 70 years ago, okay? This is Europe right here, 70 years ago. My things show that. Okay. This is Europe, guys. Okay, see that? This devastation. This is all of Europe.
Wow.
70 years ago. couldn't feed, house, or clothe itself. Of course, they brought the Africans in to rebuild it. All right, Germany, England. This is Europe. Okay, completely devastated. So if you look at Europe today, it's still it's much more developed than Africa is, and this is Europe. Okay, so what they did, they went back in and just started stealing resources from Africa. See, this is Europe. Complete devastation. All right, people can't feed. Europe couldn't feed, house, or clothe themselves. See, look at this. After World War II, Europe was a savage continent of devastation. Yeah. So what'd they do? They said, let's go steal from the niggas some more. Still colonies trying to get people. But the niggas got everything. We're going to go steal from these niggas. Okay? Because they're stupid. They're backwards. But we're going to go steal their shit. Tell them how we always was developed. And we'll tell these goofy niggas and lie and tell them about Jesus. Okay? So this was Europe. Utter devastation. Completely destroyed. Okay? After World War II. So, explain after 70 years now, Europe is developed and Africa is still underdeveloped. See, this 70 years. 70. Europe is developed again after looking like this. And this. Okay, that's France. Like, and this. Okay. That one's Germany, this France, that's England. And this. Okay. This is all of Europe. It's all of it. All of it. Little kids all fucked up, hungry, starving, couldn't grow any food. Couldn't grow any food. Soil was all fucked up. Soil was all fucked up with all kind of damn chemicals because all the damn bombings and bullet shells and shit. Okay. So what do Europeans like they always do? Oh, let's go to Africa. We probably steal from these niggas. We'll rebuild it. We got Africans going to Europe right now. Understand they used you to rebuild their shit. See, this all them. See, they didn't have the resources here to rebuild none of this shit because none of the resources are in Europe. Okay? They said, are there any towns in Europe that were left untouched after World War II? So you can see the destruction of war. Yeah, but no towns untouched. Europe was completely fucked up. I don't care if you went to France, England, Germany, Netherlands, Russia, Austria, Hungary, Spain. It all looked like this. Spain, Italy, all devastated. And Europe could not feed, house, or clothe itself. Okay? Through the corrupt cousins here in America, we're going to use these niggas in Africa. They got all the shit we're going to build. Yeah, they don't need it. Keep these niggas in huts, sucking on their mama's ass and screaming about Jesus and Allah. While we take all their shit and rebuild our civilization, that we destroyed through the war. See all that shit? These cars, all this devastation. It's all Europe. This is Belgium right here. I went to 4 countries. Belgium. First World War II. This is in Belgium. All destroyed. I don't care where you went. Okay, you went to Belgium, Germany, France, England, Spain. Yeah, fuck where you went. It was all devastated. Europe, whole continent of Europe, which is not even a continent, was all devastated. When I say it couldn't feed itself, I mean it. When I say it couldn't house itself, I mean it. Okay? When I say it can't clothe itself, I mean it. All factories were destroyed and made clothes. Fabrics. Where you getting fabrics in shit right here? Where you getting fabrics in this shit here? Where you getting fabrics at? Oh, Africa's got fabrics. And they got goofy niggas down there. Let's go steal from them some more. And tell them we bought them civilization. Okay? So, So to rebuild Europe, what the more I understand, this is when they introduced their banking scam called Bretton Woods to rebuild these crackers' way of life off African people's backs, which they've been doing for 600-700 years. So we're going to use Africa to rebuild ourselves, not just their minerals, but their money. We don't got no money. Look at this shit here. We're devastated. We're fucked up. Well, we're not going to tell them. We're not going to never tell these goopy niggas we use them to rebuild our lives, how we live good. It's just a miracle. You know, we're sitting in piles of shit like this right here. These kids all fucked up, hungry, tattered clothing. See, this is white poverty porn right here. I wish we had some YouTube back in these days. I would say, oh, look at these poor dirty crackers on the side of the damn street. You dirty crackers, how you doing? You want some bread? I got a little bread in my pocket. Yo, yes, sir. Can I get some bread? Yes, but smile in front of the camera first. All this devastated ass shit. So you need to understand the depths of why the banking scam was introduced. And remember, no African sat at Bretton Woods, not one. But it was predicated on the thievery of Africa. It was predicated so I can rebuild these kids' life right here. Keep the Africans in power so I can rebuild these crackers' life. Oh, yes, cracker. Off the backs of Africans, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are your superior people right here. So superior. I'm living in this wood pile and this shit. So superior than you, right? But anyway, that's what I want you to understand. By Bretton Woods, everything always goes back to Africa. Because Africa's the only continent that can rebuild everyone else because of the wealth that's in the ground. The trees, which they need to build a house again. With no trees in no Europe. You think any trees are sitting around this shit here? You see any trees in this shit right here? See all that? See any trees and shit? Nah, everything's destroyed. So, you know, see any trees right here? See any trees around this motherfucking shit? See? So, no. Here's the trees I need to do, you know. So, hey, now what this is. So, damn, and this Japan right here, 80%, this is Japan all fucked up. See, Japan, guess how Japan got developed again?
Look at Japan. Look at Japan now. I don't think there's any African country that compares.
No, it's not. Not even South Africa. Look at this. This is Japan. But you know what they used? Africa. They used Africa to rebuild all this bullshit here. Let's go back to these goopy niggas and build off their backs. Because Japan was why they went to war, because they didn't have any resources. Japan don't have any resources. That's the reason why they went to war, to steal other people's shit. That's the reason why Japan went to war. Hey, we don't got no resources. We built the military. Let's start to go steal some shit, like the European. But this is Japan after the war. Look at that shit there. Africa didn't look like this after no war, and Africa's still now more fucked up, more underdeveloped than any of these countries that were in the war. You know why? Because they all went back into Africa and started stealing the shit there. That's the dirty little secret that most Africans don't even know. They think, oh, Europe is so more developed. Off your back, moron. Off your back. So they didn't even say thank you. You know, you can say, you know, Santi Sana, thank you. Thank you, Japanese motherfuckers. Let me get out of it. You know, so I'm just showing you why this new banking scam was developed. Because they couldn't hold Africa anymore militarily, because too many people died during that war. I just showed the more, all that war and devastation. A lot of crackers got killed. And that's when the Kenyans said, hey, these crackers got killed during this war. We can now get free and kill them ourselves. Shit, they ain't no God. But they said, you know what? We all fucked up. Africans still too ignorant. We got to create banking scams. Get a corrupt puppet, say we'll give you a house with some wine, Jomo. I'll get wine in a library. Ooh, yeah, and a white woman too. Yes, Jomo, a white woman. Ooh, yeah, white woman too. No, we want you to be a good boy. Yes, my daddy. So, see, Demore. And that's to educate them so they can work on it. Like, what am I getting out this shit? A house? Motherfucker, I can build out my own house. The shit is here. It's mine. Y'all, how you gonna give me some shit that's already mine? All right. How you gonna give me my own shit? What are you talking about? So the Africans coming out there were mostly idiots. Were childlike in the mind, so they were easily corruptible. Didn't know that they were walking the people into these banking scams that would keep them in debt and rebuild Europe. That's what it did. It was to rebuild a devastated Europe and make white people better than Africans again, off of Africans' backs. So there was no internet there. The Africans didn't know that Europe was devastated. They didn't put it in their books. They never taught them through history. So the Africans on the continent had no conception of how World War II even ended and what was happening in the world. So Africa has been ignorant on purpose for 600 years. But he was the smartest person on the planet. When they got control and keep these niggas backwards and dumb. So after World War II, most Africans didn't know that Europe was devastated. They don't know they walking around in their village and doing their thing. They don't know that the whole Europe is being rebuilt off their backs, off their debt, off their resources, and they're not getting paid a goddamn dime. So hey. Understand, Africa's been the driving force of the world economy for 500 years. And they don't plan to let that go. So I said the only way to let it go is going to have to be revolution. Because every scam and scheme they come up with, because they know, as the gentleman said, everything can change. Oh, yeah, I ain't doing Demore show, I did it on Joby show. As the white man said, everything can change. Empires rise, empires fall. But the relationship with Africa is never allowed to change because they know for them to consider superior people, they need Africa. It's like the white man says, it's a con. It's like a con man saying, look at my civilization. It's all built off black people and Africans and African people. It's a con man telling you, look how superior my economy is based off of black people. Still in the robbing of African people. Go ahead,
And
you got it.
one question that I've never been able to answer myself is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show on whether Africa overquotes or underquotes on its debt. I've never been able to know that. Personally, I sometimes think it overquotes, then I sometimes think it underquotes. Because as I said, right now they are saying the debt is at 900 billion. What do you think? Does it overquote or underquote? Because for both, knowing these leaders and how corrupt and greedy they are, both works. Because underquoting means when they say we owe 1 billion, in reality we owe about 4 billion, but now they borrowed about 3 billion that was never used for any development. They borrowed it and they
stole it. They kept it.
They stole it, and now they don't want it known by the public. So they say we only owe 6 billion, but in reality they owe 8. Yeah. But then there's also another group of thought that thinks that another school of thought that thinks that Africa overquotes its debt. When we say it's 900 billion, we might actually be owing half of that.
And now I just don't know tomorrow. I don't got access to the books, so I can't trust the puppets. So I don't know. They ain't gave me access to those books tomorrow. How the hell do I know? So,
they can't. They say they are non-disclosure. They have clout NDC on a public debt.
Exactly, which is illegal. Criminal again, Demore. Public debt, which is criminal. That's a criminal. So all I can do is actually build a real military quietly, like the Japanese did, and then default on all of it and say, fuck you. You want your money? Come get it. Come get it.
an example of the gentleman on the screen right now, the one that we are listening to, believes that Kenya has paid all its debt and we
That's
actually
Vice
pay
President,
individuals.
Deputy President right there, ain't it?
He says that now we pay individuals instead of paying, that we paid our debt and we're done with most of the debts, but now we pay individuals. We say we are going to pay 100 billion in terms of external debt, but the money is channeled into people's private accounts because we do not owe that much. So that's what he believes. And right here he was talking about.
He may be right. I can't say yeah and nay because I don't have access to them books.
It's raising its tax because it has that debt to deal with. It comes for you. It's very simple. So the government is merely trying to survive. Merely trying to survive. And what happens is that this is done with other creditors, where they say you have both domestic and foreign debt. Let us see what the sovereign is prepared to swallow with their local debt. Then we, as IMF, as so on and so forth, will look to see how we can assist you with your external debt, which is them. All right? That's how it begins.
So like he's a moron. IMF is not created to help. No, they say, let me assist you, let me help you. No. Any African who knows shit know the IMF was created in Britain was to make sure I enslave you, not to help you, assist you with anything. So already this nigga, look, I'm glad he paused. Look how criminal this nigga look. See, nah. Already you disqualified. To say that the IMF comes in and says, let me help you with anything is idiotic. Britain was specifically designed to keep Africans in debt, okay? So they could steal and rebuild their civilizations. That's what it was created for. So it wasn't created to help anybody. Africans actually don't need any help, dummy. Just the dirty secret. It's how Africans starting to understand this. The smart African. Africa don't need no help from nobody. It has everything the world doesn't have. So if you want to come use my shit, if you was a competent leader, you would say, okay, this is what you got. Shout out to Ibrahim's understand this now, fine. Okay, you need my shit. I don't want your stupid ass. I don't need your loan. This is what you're gonna do. Because family gonna stand because they're gonna want war then. They're gonna try to undermine you. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna build your factories here. You're not building them in Europe so your white people get jobs off my shit. Okay? It's extracted off the ground in my lands, so the manufacturing is going to be here. So it means the people are going to be employed by me, my people, not yours. And so since you say you got the technology, okay, cool, good for you, no problem. But you're gonna share the same way you did with China, but this will be before China, because China will be still backward, because this is why I would play hardball. Okay, the technology that you bring into Africa, you're going to share that technology or you don't get the resources. So you're going to educate my people how to do it themselves. And you got 10 years to do that. If you don't, we'll kick you the fuck out and you won't get the shit anyway. So you mean your country will never develop again. You would still been in rumble, all fucked up. Yeah, that's how you be a real leader. That's how you lead. Not some, I'm going to be white people come be investors, all that old dumb shit. All that old weak ass dumb shit. Motherfucker, I got what you need. You know, that's why a man has to negotiate with women. Why? Because the women have the coochie, you don't, and you want it. That's why. That's why women control sex. You understand that? Women control sex. Men don't. We all know that's a fact. I'm going to put it in simple terms. Women control sex. Men don't. So, I got all the cobalt. I got all the gold. I got all the damn uranium. I got all the diamonds. I got all the coltan. I got all the nickel. I got all of it. God damn it. You want to make your car? You want to make your shoes? You want to make your bags? You want to build your houses? Cool. I'm with that. But it's going to be made here. And my people are going to be the beneficiary of making it. They're going to get what? A decent salary. If you don't like it, kick rocks. But you can't kick rocks because you got nowhere else to go. I am the real bank. Not the fake paper, the resources. See, paper is like the internet. that doesn't exist. It's cyberspace. The resources are real in the real world. So that's what you would do. You say, well, so I'm just gonna say, you know what?
And
I'm gonna have to make war on you niggas. We'll make war. I'm gonna teach my people about war. I'm gonna be honest. Like, so listen here. We have what the European wants. He's gonna make war on us, guys. Right now we have the numbers, so we might have to go to war to keep our shit. And so someone's gonna die because they're gonna make war on us, guys, because they're psychopaths and they're parasitic. So they want us to just give us they want to take our shit, keep us enslaved. You know, you teach the people the truth. That's what you would have did in 1961. You would have taught them the truth. This is what's about to happen. They want to take our shit, keep us impoverished, and make a few puppets wealthy while they steal everything. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. If they want what we have, which anybody would do, you come build the factories here. Anybody, why they build them in China and make China power? That wouldn't make any sense. I thought China was their enemy. Why would I give them all my manufacturing and teach them how to build the shit? Why would I do that? Because that was a lie. China was never their enemy. That was a new empire as they implode America. So I was like, you know what? China didn't have any resources. That's why China came into Africa and got the resources again. So I was like, you know what? I have the resource that you want. Okay. Now, you don't have to do it, but they got no choice but to do it. Because if they didn't do it with me, Europe would still be looking like those images I showed Demore. That's how Europe would still look today. If you wouldn't be getting shit out of my ground without compensating my people respectfully, not the bush. My people will no longer be slaves and called idiots and black. That day is over. That day is over. So in 7 years, that technology will be transferred to my people. So they'll know how to start their own plants if they choose to. But the technology will be known to Africans. And as they get technology, they'll create more technology. So, hey, now I create Africa into a giant. And I need to use no damn debt and leverage and have investors. Fuck your investors. Because I have everything you need. I don't need you to invest in shit here. Well, why would I go? Demore has the well. I say, you know what, Demore, I'm gonna drill your well, and then I'm gonna take all the money from the water. I'm gonna drill your well, and I'm gonna take the water out the well, and I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna put your people working for me in your well. He said, and I'm gonna pay you pennies that the well that's yours, and all the water's gonna be mine. I'm gonna sell the water, and your people are gonna work for me in your own well. That's what they've been doing in Africa. You're like, that wouldn't even make any sense. Exactly. Because I know I've been dealing with morons, and I've kept morons in power. I haven't changed the educational system to keep Africans back. Listen to this goofy nigga talking about the IMF comes to help you. What are you talking about? You are you an idiot? Where's the IMF? IMF's been around since World War II. After World War II, 7 years. Show me one country. Jimmy Wanjingi. Where the fuck?
his name is Jay Wanjigi. And Danny Harrison says it is very essential for Africans to learn to leverage on resources. And you don't even need to look further for you to find a good template, a perfect template for this. Look at Niger. Niger has been independent let me use the word independent, has been independent for less than a year or so. And it was able to it has already signed an MOU, a memorandum of association with of understanding with China for an oil deal worth 400 million USD already.
Yeah, you start controlling your own resources.
Yep.
Exactly. The resources is the real shit that runs the world, not the fake money, not the fake paper. Paper pays for the real shit. So I would tell Jimmy Wanjingi, whatever fuck your goofy name. Hey, show me one place the IMF has helped one country. You can't. Show me one country that the IMF has been beneficial to, and it's gonna be zero because it was set up to do exactly that, not benefit the country.
You might have misquoted him. He's actually against the IMF itself.
Okay, shit.
Yeah. He's the one that the government is the one that Ruto is saying is sponsoring the demonstrations at the moment. It was the one they were trying to arrest.
I big up demonstration. I was one man sponsoring those demonstrations. That sound crazy cat shit.
They said it was him. So it actually doesn't take a lot for Africa to, I mean, look at Burkina Faso. In how many years? 1 year in, and they are already launching a nuclear plant. You know,
because you got leaders 35 actually competent like you, Demore. He's competent. He knows how the world really works. He knows that his people have been getting shitted on, and should no country in Africa ever be impoverished. He said, well, how the fuck are we poor? We the ones got everything. Exactly. You can't be poor. And if the system worked fairly, equally, you couldn't be poor. Because you're the ones who developed the rest of the world. Up your back. How you poor? The gold's in Africa. The diamonds in Africa. The cobalt is in Africa. The gold tan is in Africa. The nickel is in Africa. The silver is in Africa.
But shit. the money is in Europe.
That's right. Because I print it in my press. You goofy niggas. I print it from nothing. That's right. And I say what it's in back. I say what the intrinsic value is. Why I devalue your shit. And you the one got the real resources. See the scam? So I can buy your shit for nothing. I give you this fake paper. Yeah, take this paper, you goofy nigga. Where'd you get it from? From my printing press, stupid. I grab some paper and I print it up.
He goes jibba calculating, and he has figured out that every baby in the US owes 102K the moment they are born, and it grows every month.
Yeah, because of the debt that we incur. Americans are going to pay the debt because they won't print the money from nothing. So any money, America's 20 times more in debt than Kenya ever will be. But Kenya don't get to print his money. Nobody give a fuck about no goopy shilling out there in the world. It's the dollar. So I get to print my goopy dollar from nothing. He said, what backs the US dollar? Nothing. But it's military might. Okay? With the military come see you, and they CIA, they come, hey, give me one jingy, nigga.
I heard you had questions on the dollar.
See what now?
And I'm saying they're gonna come knock at your door and tell you to ask the questions that you had.
That's right. And your question on it. Oh, I know that you keep on using it. You understand that? But it detriments to my own economy. Yeah, we get that, but you keep using it. If you want to, you like walking around. You like eating. You love your kids. You love them, don't you? I seen them little rascals running around you, calling you daddy. I like seeing that. You like them, don't you? Don't you love them? Yeah. Then I suggest you keep using that dollar. Okay? It's just my suggestion now. I don't know what's going to happen to you if you don't. Just my suggestion that you do. Okay? All right. Glad we had this conversation. Let me let you get back to your little ones. Okay? Have a good night.
And Danny Harrison goes on to say that Africa has resources. The resources is money, especially precious metals such as gold. If you go to resource-rich nations, you have a wealth. However, the problem is most of these African countries have actually signed off their resources in some of those debts. And apart from that,
that's what Britain was. That was Britain was for.
Yeah, that's why the Chinese are the ones mining in DRC. That's why the Chinese are the ones mining the diamonds in CAR in Central African Republic. That's why the Chinese are the ones mining oil in Kenya. They're the ones mining, because we signed off. So they don't even need to come with an army because they just have the documents and they're just going to tell you, is in this Jomo Kenyatta's signature? And now they're going to use the words such as the sovereign and tell you, as I said, when he signs, he does not sign for himself. He signs as a representative of the country. So you gave us our gold mine in exchange for money.
Right. He steals the money, but the debts are yours. Exactly right. Yep. So, funny? That's why, and like as you can see, they're mining Africa. They're mining China because there ain't shit there. Everybody's mining in Africa. You get it? They're not mining in Europe. They're not mining in China. They're mining in Japan. They're mining in Africa because the shit's there. Okay? The real shit's there. shit that actually creates their skyscrapers and their fast trains that you don't got. But it's in your ground, goofy nigga. It's there in your ground. Not in they shit. They not mining this shit in they shit. You know why? They mine and say, damn, ain't shit in this ground. Oh yeah, but that shit's in Africa though. Damn right. So all the big buildings went up. When you go back 40 years, look at China's all fucked up, impoverished, all backward and shit. They think all that shit came from Africa. Africa. All them big buildings you see in China, like, wow, look at the Chinese. Wow, look at the trains. Oh, like a little child. Hey, you goofy nigga, where did this shit come from? Came from your lands, dummy. Didn't come from China. So you could be building the same shit in Africa because it's right there in your ground. All that shit you see in China. Oh, look at them fast trains. Look at the trains. Oh my God. Yeah, look at them. And look at the mining equipment that they got in Africa, nigga. That's how they got the trains. Okay? That's how they got the trains. You're like, oh. You're like Joby. How smart are the Chinese? Smart enough to steal your shit. That's how smart we are, you goofy nigga.
Danny Harrison goes on to say the European created a scarcity
Exactly.
in Africa due to its imperialism.
Yeah.
The economic imperialism, and they convinced the Africans that he must depend on the European for the African survival. This is the white savior imagery that I was talking about that I even saw in my mom. I gave you that story where she went to a hospital and she was treated by some Cuban doctors and she was so happy.
Oh my God, you Cubans are, oh my God, you Cubans are great. I said, hey, ma'am, you understand that actually the Africans are considered the best doctors out of Nigeria? Those are the best doctors. This is a fact. I don't know nothing about that. That's a white man there. But
yeah, she was so confident that she's gonna get healed because a Cuban doctor treated her.
And a Cuban doctor will fuck you all up. Yeah, you know, you got find all kind of shit in your gut. Like, well, I got this tape measure in my gut. Cuban did it.
They forgot a tape measure in there.
And her son been educated. She can't. The doctor is so bad. The more can't even talk to his mom. She's so fucked. That's why they got to keep the ID of these niggas when they go vote, because they're having a learned son. She won't even listen to her son say, "But mom, actually, the Africans are better." Boy, you better get away from crazy shit.
You know why? You know, one of the biggest contributor of that is because in Kenya and in Africa, when somebody gets too sick, we fundraise for them to go get treatment in India, get treatment in the US, get treatment in. And so when now she can get the same treatment, but not in India without fundraising, I mean, of course, if you were to have an Indian doctor on one queue and an African doctor on another queue, the African doctor will kick rocks. They will all go for the Indian one, because what we know is if you are very sick, we fundraise for you, you go to India, you come back better. So we believe they have better doctors, we believe they are more, that is what people believe, they are more intelligent. But what we don't know is that they've just invested a little more in their healthcare. When we were building windmills and airports and, you know, white elephant projects, they were actually investing in a little bit more of their healthcare. And so maybe the doctor is maybe even dumb, but because they are in a good hospital with good resources, with availability of medicine, because he's gonna get cured. But in Africa, you are a very good doctor without gloves, without painkillers.
When Joby got sick like 3 weeks ago, right? And they was in the hospital. That hospital looked like some shit.
Come on, that's one of the best hospitals in Rongai. I went to rehab.
I'm telling you, I looked at the hospital. I couldn't say it because Joby was sick, so I was, I got to be. That hospital looked like some shit from 1865.
That's one of the best hospitals in this neighborhood.
I know, and that's the problem. I looked at that shit, and I was like, Oh my God. This is like some slavery shit out of Django. This is some shit from 1865 you put a slave in. That's how far the Africans not developed on and Africans have accepted. That's what like same thing. I'm trying to explain what you're saying. The more I'm agreeing with you. I'm looking at that hospital. I said, they're like some bed in the back of somebody's garage. What the fuck? That's a hospital. That's what I'm talking about. The underdevelopment of Africa is so crazy. It's so fucking if I took that picture and showed you what Joe was at, anybody in the world would say, they wouldn't say that was a hospital tomorrow. They say, what's that? She in somebody, she in a homeless shelter? That's what they would ask me.
Keith, I saw patients sharing a bed in Uganda and others sleeping on the floor. So
God damn.
that's much better.
Let me.
I personally saw patients sharing a bed.
God
in
damn.
Uganda. Yep.
See, and he's still, and this moron is still in office. Has no, you don't have no shame in Uganda that people are doing that. You crazy. You have no shame.
And General Mosquito is telling me you've made it worse by saying it's one of the best hospitals in Kenya. No, not in Kenya, but it's one of the best hospitals in this neighborhood because I know it has good services. It's one of the best. It's not even a public hospital, it's a private hospital. So you can imagine it's
one of the best. Not even public. You like,
and Keith is saying it looked like somebody's backyard.
It looked like somebody's backyard. I mean, let me show you now. Now we're gonna show you a regular hospital bed in America compared to what Joby was in. Let me see my images. My wife was and my ex-wife is a nurse. So we show a regular hospital bed in America. Okay, regular, not nothing fancy. It's a regular public hospital. The more he's talking about. Okay, my screen share yet? Let me see. Let me know if you guys see my screen. That ain't fancy.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay, you see that? That's a regular hospital bed right there, hospital room right there. Right there, Demore. See that?
Yeah.
Your hospital room, regular hospital bed right there. That's what it looks like. That's what a regular hospital. That's not no fancy shit.
Is this a private or a public hospital?
This is public. It's a regular hospital.
No.
Nothing fancy.
No, that's a public hospital.
Yes. It's a regular hospital. This ain't no private hospital, right? This is regular, Demore. Regular. This is a regular hospital bed, Demore. Regular. It's what they look like. Compared to what I seen Joby in, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is a regular bed, Demore. Regular. Let's go another one. Let's go another one right here. Okay, image one, let me see. Drag image up. Okay. You said drag it. Shit. Right here, there's another somebody else hospital, different hospital. Regular hospital room. This is a hospital room, regular. This ain't no private hospital. This is Valley Hospital. Valley, a small town. This is some small village shit here. Small, what we call town. You guys got this some small town shit here. This right here. It's a regular hospital. This ain't no bad shit here. This shit right here. This ain't nothing advanced. This shit right there. See, you go nuts. Cause everybody got their rooms different. Put up with hospital. They got another hospital bed. Let's see this one. This is Laurel General Hospital. This is the hospital most people want to go. It's a general hospital because this is a public hospital right here. Most people say, "Oh man, this is general." They got the general hospital and it'll kill you. But this is a general hospital. Your TV up there, your bed, your shit. This is a poor hospital right here, Demore. General hospital means poor. This is a poor hospital here, Joe. Demore. This is not a private hospital.
Zenmo is saying that I think that's a hotel room, and he's actually correct. That looks like a hotel room.
Who said that?
General Mosquito is saying that. I'm thinking that is a hotel room.
God, you guys shit is fucked up in Britain too.
No. He's saying I might think it's a hotel room. Demore thinks it's a hotel room.
Yeah. Let's say nah. This is a poor hospital, Demore. This is a general hospital. This is public. This is where poor people go, right here. It's a poor hospital. This is where people you don't want to go to this.
Let me show you public hospitals in Kenya with its 11 trillion debt. 11 trillion. Just random hospitals, public hospitals.
Another hospital. Everybody's got their different bed. Got this one look kind of smooth. This is another general hospital. Damn. This Osmond. I know. Hey, this is Florida. This is Osmond Beach. This is a general hospital. This is for poor people right here. This is a poor people's hospital, Demore. This shit right here. This is over at Osmond Beach. They show me all the poor people shit. This is all the poor people shit, Demore. This is where poor people go. Okay? Shit right here. Let me show you. Yeah, so let me get off my shit and let Demore show you this shit. I mean, Joby was in that shit. I was like, what the fuck is that shit there?
Joby's hospital was decent in comparison to the public hospitals that we see.
That shit was raggedy. That shit was raggedy than a motherfucker.
So this is I just Googled. I said I saw people sharing a bed in Uganda. I didn't. So this is in Kenya now. So this, for example, in this one, these are people sharing a bed. You come with a broken arm. You find another person with cholera, and you share the bed.
This is not funny. This is the disrespect of African people. This is absolutely crazy. The underdevelopment is that's why the life expectancy has gone down in Africa, because the damn discaring, the damn shabby services should have been fucking revolted and got them overthrew. Look at this raggedy ass shit. This shit is from 200 years ago.
Yes, another sleeping on the floor.
That shit that motherfucker on the floor.
You just went to the hospital because you had a toothache, and now you're sharing the bed with somebody with diarrhea. And
look at this bed. Some shit from like 1865.
Yeah.
There's probably some donated shit the Europeans gave. Yeah, get these niggas this old shit. We had 100 years before World War II. You're like, what? Like, oh my God.
And it's not just, you might think it's one area. For example, this one is in, I lost the picture, but you can just see. This one is in Kiambu, where one sleeps on this side, the other one on this side. That is how you share the bed. It's a small bed, but now one sleeps on one side, the other on the other side. Doesn't matter the disease that you have. That is in Kiambu. Kiambu is just near Nairobi, by the way. There's another one in Turkana. So it's quite... It's a catalog of pictures. There's this other one who's sleeping on the floor in Kisumu. On the floor. Even pregnant women sleeping on the floor, delivering on the floor. Because you can see this one sleeping with the kids on the floor. And this is a country that has an 11 trillion debt from the Bretton Woods, who claim that their main purpose is to help.
You haven't invested anything in your public sector at all to benefit people. You think as a leader you'd be ashamed of some shit like this? What the fuck is that? You think you'd be ashamed? As I tell all these African leaders are despots. You think you'd be ashamed as an African to see some shit like this? But they're not. That's why they all leave the country to get their health care, because they know they have not built no health care in Africa. This shit is over 150 years old, this shit I'm looking at here. You know it is. I said, Joby, I said, that's a motherfucking hospital. I'm looking at that shit. I knew it was going to be bad because I've been to Africa. But I'm like, look at this. And I couldn't say something.
Joby is among the lucky ones who can afford the private hospitals.
She wasn't the lucky one to afford that private hospital that looked like a homeless shelter anywhere else in the world. Okay? Homeless shelter. Shit was, I like, man, damn, but I I said, man, maybe I could put Joby in something better. What is that shit? I'm like, man, that shit crazy. That shit crazy to me. I'm looking at that shit. My heart was hurting. I think of Joby as my daughter. My heart was hurting putting her in that shit. Looking at her in that shit. It hurt my heart. Since I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Joby's around right now. That shit hurt my heart. Mm-hmm. Hurt my fucking heart. Having that shit. That's a private hospital.
Yep. one
way
of
would
the best hospitals
no
in the
way would I
neighborhood.
ever put in some shit like that ever. No way. And this is what I'm talking about. Africa's got to have revolution. It's got to have it. This kind of blatant disrespect, this backward ass 100-year-old shit. I'm sure the more regular fucked up low budget hospitals, as Shamani would call it. No, but you want to say, is that a private hospital? Hell no. It's a
This
low
is
budget.
Kenya's. I'm not even exaggerating. This is Kenya's biggest hospital. It's called the Kenyatta National Hospital. So at this time, it's Kenya's biggest hospital. It's the biggest.
And that's
It's where, yeah, it's where even the likes of Magufuli would come to. It's perhaps the biggest hospital in East Africa, I'm sure, because this is where that Ugandan opposition leader used to come every week after being beaten up by Museveni. Kiza Besigye used to be a regular here. Museveni would beat him up once a week.
And he would come all the way to Kenya.
Yeah, he would come to Kenya for treatment. So this has to be East Africa's biggest hospital. It's
shit.
not always like this. Sometimes it looks better, but at this day there had been an incident, and now I want you to see how a slight incident like a fire, and there are not enough beds for people, and people had to sleep. I just want you to see for yourself. I would rather not talk.
Let me see this shit. And like they got a secret camera there. You can't look at this crazy ass shit. It's 2020. It's the 21st century. Look at this shit. And this ain't Kenya. This Black Africa. Would you understand that? Except for South Africa. You go to South Africa, got nice ass hospitals and shit. Not for the black motherfuckers, but for white people. South Africa got some nice ass hospitals. I remember I fucked my foot up and went to a hospital. Shit was nice as shit. So I'm like, man, this some America shit. This is 2024. And this is all majority of Black Africa.
Kids, remember, this is the biggest hospital in East Africa. I'm sure of that. There isn't a better hospital than this in East Africa. This is the Kenyatta National Hospital. It's the biggest hospital in East Africa.
Now tell me this don't look like
I'm 100% sure of that.
This is like a homeless shelter. Look at this crazy shit. This is a hospital. But now you know it can't be a hospital anywhere in the world because it'd be unsanctioned because it's dirty. People shit everywhere. I mean, hospitals are what have to be clean because of disease. Has to be clean. This is already right here filthy because the proximity of each other on everybody, the damn beds. This right here can never be considered a functional hospital because just looking right here, it would go against every health guideline. This shit right here, it would be considered unhealthy. All these people.
This is a place that you can go healthy and get sick there. You take your brother for treatment, you get sick.
It has to be sterilized. Exactly right, Jim Mosquito. This is unsterilized. You can't sterilize this shit here. The hospital has to be sterilized. Exactly. I said this right here would be shut down anywhere in the world. This couldn't be nobody's hospital. And this is the biggest one in East Africa. They'd have to shut this down. It's unsterilized. You couldn't go in this motherfucker. You get all kind of diseases going up into this bitch. And no one's ashamed of this as a leader. Because now I get to go to Europe. Fuck the rest of these other niggas. I get to go to India. But you won't build nothing for your own fucking people?
So
that's why I want all despots to get this bullet.
Now let me show you the Ugandan National Hospital now, so that you might be
crazy.
Yep. This is the Ugandan National Hospital in Uganda.
Activists calling for the protection of freedoms such as speech, expression, and education, but not much is heard of activists fighting for Ugandans' right to health care.
Look at Uganda's national hospital.
God damn, that's a hospital?
No, a national hospital.
Remove inconsistencies.
I'm just saying that's a hospital right there. Look at this crazy shit here.
To ensure that the right to health care.
He one of our nurses trying to get the
one
fuck
law
out
that could be targeted is the public health.
This motherfucker's been there 40 years and he couldn't build all the money he stole. He can't build a decent one decent fucking hospital. I'm telling you, boy, this shit angers me. It's all
the National Referral Hospital. So I can now imagine, the hospitals have levels. So when I'm keeping repeating national because that is the highest level. So now I'm imagining what these hospitals look like.
The Europeans built that old raggedy shit back in the 30s and 40s when they were there. They just kept, raggedy. That shit should be, look at that old raggedy ass shit. That shit's supposed to be torn down to the fucking, that shit's supposed to be razed to the ground. But the African's been kept so ignorant, so backward, he doesn't know that the shit, look at this shit, fucked up shit. Well, look how great our hospital is. You out your fucking mind. That shit's supposed to be raised to the goddamn ground. You don't think, look at all this filthy shit there. Look at all this shit. What is this?
This is Uganda. Yeah, this is Uganda.
Look at this shit. 40 years. You ain't done it. This shit is crazy. And it's not even make fun of Uganda. You go to Zambia. You go to Ghana.
Yep. That is why I showed Kenya and I also showed Uganda so that you don't think it's a Kenyan problem. I'm sure if I search for maybe another country, Cameroon, I'm going to find a similar thing. I search for Ghana, I'm going to find a similar thing.
Yes. 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 And that's when you wonder why Africans now, life expectancies all now went backwards. When the white man got there, you was living 150 years to 200. Now the Africans barely live to be 55 and 60. Because you've been fucking with their food and your health care is 200 years behind. That's a hospital right there. Look at that shit. Look at that shit. This is a hospital.
And this Uganda is a country that has its total debt is 52% of its GDP. So yeah. I'm keeping reminding you of the debt so that you do away with the thought that those debts are given to help us.
52%. Yep. Ain't got nothing to show for it. 50, yep. That means the whole country is already indebted. And he ain't built no geese. Now, they got bringing buckets of water or sperm. Where the fuck is in that shit? What's in that? Sperm, butt, doo-doo? What's in that shit? I don't know. What's in that? Your stool sample up in there? What's in that shit?
I don't know.
The more you don't want to know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what is in that bucket myself. So for a country that has a 52% debt GDP, you'd expect to see something better. I mean, you'd expect to see.
Yes.
I mean, where have all the debts gone?
Africa's the world summit. Look at this shit there. What is this thing here? Some makeshift goddamn shack. Look at this shit. Everybody got their bucket of piss or some shit they got. And what's that? Buckets of booty juice. That's right. And then you wonder that's why Africa makes it. I'm not moving no fucking Africa. You crazy? You see the healthcare system over there? You out your fucking mind?
But kids, this is only for the poor. Let me show you a hospital in Kenya. There are hospitals in Kenya that have the helipad. The hospitals that have helipads in Kenya.
Of course.
Yep. Good. Let me show you so that you see. It's what they were saying that there are 50 billionaires and 50 million poor people in Africa. That is the situation. Because in the same country like Uganda, in the same country like Kenya, you look at hospitals such as the Nairobi hospital, let me just show you. Good hospitals, but that nobody can afford. The only people who can afford that are the rich. Let me show you. Now, let me show you an example of hospitals. And that is why in Africa there are people who die and there are people who rest in peace.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
you know, when you're resting in peace in such a hospital, you die here. So let me show you some hospitals in Kenya, about 10 of them. And you compare, there are good hospitals but nobody can afford.
Best hospital close with Coptic base in Nairobi.
This is the
It is a
Coptic
modern
hospital.
250-bed facility.
Okay,
with
that's decent. That would be considered a low budget hospital in America. That shit low budget. Look at that shit. But it's the normal low budget house. That's some low budget shit there. But I can get down if I move to Kenya. I can be in the low. They call that the top ranking hospital in Kenya.
Yeah, these are some of the best hospitals in Kenya. They have the Coptic. No, I'm not even watching the Kenyatta hospital.
That's some low budget shit. Right? That's
They have
called
the AR.
the regular hospital in America. That's some low budget shit. But I can afford the low budget shit in Africa. So cool. Yeah, so cool. Then we gotta get to go on. Oh, we're in the top of the art. Okay. America, this is low budget, so I'm gonna take it. I'll take the top of the art right here. I'm cool. See, regular hospitals, like I showed the regular bit, this is all regular shit. This is regular. This is how every hospital is supposed to be in Kenya, like this one. This book, because you got the Indian in there, they got the money in Africa. Indians ain't in that raggedy shit. The other, it's a regular hospital. Okay, good, exactly, regular hospital. Not nothing special. This is special. No, moron. That's a regular hospital. And show the book. This is regular. It's not supposed to be. This is a great best hospital. That's how all your hospitals are supposed to look like that.
But now try telling that to somebody who shared a bed 3 days ago.
See right there. So they can build regular hospitals in Kenya. They refuse to do it. See? So if the money, they still don't money. Hospitals aren't expensive to make. It's only expensive to staff. They don't pay the doctors and nurses shit in Africa, no way. So it wouldn't even be expensive to staff. Hospitals are not expensive to create. It's the staffing. But since they don't pay people in Africa, your staffing wouldn't even be expensive. So there's no reason why you couldn't have decent fucking hospitals in Africa.
And of course, I don't know if you've noticed, but the demographic of doctors changed the moment we left the
Of course, white people. I said, white people. Yeah, of course. They pay.
If you look, you're gonna notice the demographic changed the moment we left the ones that were sharing beds.
White people ain't gonna worsen that fucked up hospital and be broke. So exactly. I need to get in. Of course, that means this is the hatred to the hatred. African people hate African people. That other people are supposed to get better treatment, better lives than African people.
Look at this, for example. There's
real
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Look, you actually got real surgeons with real uniforms, not that shit you seen in Uganda. They actually got real scrubs on. They were those called scrubs. They got real scrubs on.
Yep. And about 60% of the surgeons here are white. I don't know if you noticed that.
Of course.
This one.
Of course. They're not for you niggas. On the rich Africans, they got all the babies are white. That's where all the white people go. That's in Kenya. They're not gonna go that fuck all the white people there. Ain't it funny? White people, you're an African. White people get treated better than Africans in Africa. And the African has accepted this shit. All other people are treated better, live better, have better. Got their water's clean, their water's not cut off. You go to African side town, everything's all fucked up.
Look at this.
Yeah, all Indian.
It doesn't look like a Kenyan hospital. It looks like an Indian hospital.
Like an Indian hospital, yeah.
There is one black person in this picture.
Yeah.
One.
And you in Kenya.
True.
That's how you know your country's been colonized, fam. You never got decolonized. No such thing.
The other Kenyan doctors, with all their knowledge, have to ask. They confuse the patients because they don't know who's sleeping on the feet side and who's sleeping on the head side. They don't remember which one had diarrhea, which one had come for a toothache, because they are sharing beds and the others are sleeping on the floor. Imagine the conditions that those doctors work in. That is why they get an offer to go to Australia. They go. That is why they are leaving Kenya.
How disrespectful this is. Because you ain't going to India and find a bunch of niggas as their doctors in India. At all. At all. I don't give a fuck how smart you are as an African doctor. Nigga, you ain't representing us. Not in India. But in Africa, their minds have been so fucked up. So debilitating. And this is what you get. Look at this shit here. I thought this was, I wouldn't know this was fucking not Nairobi. I would think this is Mumbai, India, some fucking weird. This gotta be Mumbai. Am I looking at Mumbai? No. Am I in Mumbai? No. I'm in Nairobi. Nairobi, ain't that Africa? Yeah. And what the fuck are these Indians doing up in here? Because, you know, we don't believe in ourselves, and we don't know shit, and so our major hospitals are controlled by them. And since our people can't even afford to go in them, shit, I'm African. I can't afford to go to the hospital in my own country. That no system. It means your whole system is fucked up.
We come to the end. Jibajaba was asking me whether there is a hospital in a certain area, and let me show him the hospital there. In the area that you are asking Jibajaba, there's a hospital that has a helicopter ambulance. For you to go there, you're taken there by a helicopter ambulance there. That is what they use.
That's all normal shit in America. Helipads. Yeah, that's all normal. That's every hospital in America, Demore.
Yep. But now imagine telling that to an African, a Ugandan who was sleeping on the floor.
You wonder why
that it's normal for you to have a helicopter as an ambulance.
You wonder why all these people trying to get the fuck out of Africa. Wonder why? Because of and morons being put in power who haven't built shit. Now you got a state-of-the-art hospital right there in Nairobi, but the rest of these motherfucking hospitals, Africans go fucked up. Some shit, Joby, some backward shit from 200 years ago. So don't tell me they don't know how to make hospitals, because they do. None of that hospital. The more he showed me what even allowed to be exist, because like General Mosquito, it's unsterile. You can't put a human being in there. You'll get more diseases going in that bitch before you came. Because it's unsterile.
Yeah.
She's absolutely disrespectful and crazy. And none of these niggas got any shame. Like Demore said, that's not Kenya. That's goddamn Ghana, Nigeria.
It might be worse. It might
worse.
It's not even. It might be. If I look at DRC, if I look at Burundi,
it's gonna be worse than DRC. It's gonna be worse than Central African Republic. It's gonna be worse than something like Gambia. It's gonna be worse than something like Equatorial Guinea. It's gonna be worse. Motherfucker gonna be sleeping on a bucket. Here's your bed. But this bucket, yeah, the bucket, so you can shit and piss in it too. Just lay on top of the bucket. then when you get up, shit in it, piss in it, take it outside, and dump it.
Jibajaba was telling me that that bed in one of the hospitals that you showed me, that bed costs about 7,000 a day. 7,000 a day.
Wow. Hospital bills? Yeah, our hospital bills are high, but we can't afford to go up in the shit. But that's a general hospital. It's regular.
7,000 a day, kid. Do you know how much that is in Kenya?
I don't think that. I think Jim is over exaggerating. No 7,000 a day. That's a private house. In a general hospital, ain't no 7,000, Demore. It's high. It's high. But ain't no 7,000 a day. Shit. But it's high. A bed like that might cost you about $250 a day. About $250 a day. In a regular hospital, we show general, not a private. Now, a private hospital, that's gonna be some $7,000 a day shit that he's talking about.
That's about $1 million Kenya shillings.
Yeah, but ain't nobody black going to a private hospital. We can't afford that shit. Black people going to the general hospital tomorrow. We're going to the general. We can't afford no damn private. We're going to the one I showed you. That's the general hospital. We're going to the low budget hospital. The general one. Shit. You know. But thank God, I'm like, I got to I said, man, you got all these kids, man. How you pay all these medical bills when they go to the hospital? He said, man, I don't believe in no medical bills. I said, what you mean you don't believe in them? They send you the bill, man. I throw that shit in the trash. I said, what? Thank God, because Kenyans, they make you don't leave. You can't leave the hospital. In America, they send you a bill. A lot of people don't pay that shit. Man, I ain't paying that shit. Throw that shit in the trash. Me, I don't never get sick. I ain't never been in no hospital. I ain't never been sick. Thank God. Knock on fake wood. That's fake wood. Knock on fake wood. I ain't never been sick. I had never been in the hospital in my life, thank God. So I know that shit astronomical cost. My kids have, but I had health insurance. So the health insurance helped me pay for that shit. I can imagine, you know, shit. We ain't got no money to go to no damn private. We ain't got no money to be Joby going to private hospital. But our private hospitals don't look like the one Joby was in. Don't look like that shit. It don't look like that shit. Joby shit called a private. Don't even look like a general hospital here. 3 days, we said, yep, that was everything, bed plus care. 3 days, it was 20,000, 24,000, good thing. You gotta have insurance, of course. I'm saying you got to have, that's why they pay for health insurance. That's why they take money out my damn check every week. I got that health insurance. I ain't never used the shit. Can't never get it back. I've been paying for that shit when I had kids my whole life. I've never been to the hospital in my life, ever. So they got hundreds of thousands of dollars out of my ass since I've been paying health care, health insurance. I ain't never used that shit. Motherfuckers been getting free money from me forever. But you gotta have it just in case some shit goes out. You can't afford none of that shit. And here in America, where you don't have health care, they say, we can't help you. You can't come to the hospital tomorrow. We can't help you. You gotta get the fuck out. Like the general hospitals still take you, I think, but we don't got no more general hospitals in where I'm at, Pensacola. They tore down that last one, like the more, because they don't want poor people up in that bitch. They tore it down. Remember, they tearing down. Let me see. He said America's like DeMaury's right. America's tearing down most of the general hospitals. Before we go, let me see. Let me say this. Are most American cities tearing down the general hospitals? So let's see here. Let me see. I ain't say images. So let me share my screen real quick. Get out of here. So you guys know most of your cities don't have no more general hospitals. They making sure the poor kid ain't go to the hospital no more. So right. See, remember, these are all your old general hospitals. All your old general hospitals right here. All these hospitals, all your old. These look all low budget. These are all your old general hospitals. All these low budget looking motherfuckers right here. See, these are cities with the most private.
What do you mean low budget?
Now they become private, right? Cities with the most private hospitals. See that? These are all your old low budget private hospitals. See, private hospital, see, general hospital right there. I said, that's mine. I was born in that bitch. LA County's General Hospital. I said, that's like LA. I was born in this motherfucking. I was born in this low budget motherfucker right here. This low budget.
What do you mean low budget, kid? That's a good
hospital, right? This is a low budget hospital. This is some general hospital shit. Means it's low budget, Demore. This some low budget shit here. These are low budget hospitals, Demore. So yeah, in Africa, this would be your private, great looking hospital. In America, Demore, this is low budget shit here. Okay? This is general. See, the term, the iconic general hospital, LA County, iconic general hospital. This low budget shit here. Okay? This would be considered your great hospital. This is how far behind Africa is on purpose. This is low budget shit here, Demore. Let me see, but let's see. They say American cities that weren't demolished. Let me see. Some other rural cuts. They stripped down the hospitals after the only hospital in town closed. Yeah, they closed. They closed all the general hospitals. Some urban hospitals face closure or cutbacks. Yeah, because they want the money. They don't want these low budget motherfuckers, right? Wayne DeMore got. They don't want these low budget motherfuckers like this. They don't want these low budget motherfuckers right here no more. They don't want them. Get up and close this down anyway. All these old ass general hospitals. They don't want these low budget looking mother. They don't want these low budget ones like this no more. They don't want that low budget shit. They want sure you pay it. They want you to pay it. And we ain't got nobody to pay. We can't afford no $24,000 for 3 days. Crazy as hell. Anyway, let me let DeMaury finish. Working for no 20 motherfuckers barely making $30,000 a year. That's my whole fucking salary for the year. What is you talking about? got me fucked up. So, you know, I'm gonna have to go to Kenya and share a bed with Joby. Nah, I can afford. See, their top of the line hospital is our low budget shit here. So I get in the top of the line and shit in Kenya, have Joby in the top of the line shit and be all right. Say, hey, ain't you happy to be in the top of the line shit? I said, really, man, this is low budget shit where I'm from, but I'm happy to be not in that shit, that other shit. I ain't gonna lie.
The discussion will be who's sleeping on the head side, who's sleeping on the toe side, because you're sharing a bed.
Yeah, that shit crazy. That shit broke my heart. I had to put Joby was in that shit. I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? I couldn't tell her nothing because she was in there all fucked up. I was angry. Look at this shit here. Shit had me angry. Man, it does. You don't like to see your babies in no fucked up shit, man. As a parent, that shit made me angry. I'm not going to lie, but I couldn't say that. She was sick. Look at what kind of shit is this?
Yeah, and imagine now Joby is lucky she can afford private.
Yeah, I know.
She can afford
And Shimani was saying to me, and look, and check that. And Shimani was telling me, Demore, Keith, look how good the hospital is. I said, bitch, are you crazy? This is what I'm thinking in my mind. Bitch, are you crazy? Are you out your fucking mind, this raggedy ass shit? Look how nice the hospital is. Are you out your fucking mind? I would never put Joby in no shit like that ever. Never. Ever. Like, man, that shit made me angry. But anyway, much love, guys.
Anyway, that was all we had today on the Diary of a Young Black King. We're talking about Africa and its odious deaths. We looked at whether Africa is overstating or understating on its death. Then we'll be here on Monday on the
got debts out the ass, but no real public hospitals. Where's the fucking money at then? That's a basic service. Where the fuck is the money?
Yep, why is the 1 trillion USD that Africa owes?
Goddamn dollars. I ain't talking about the private hospitals, the more so. I'm talking about regular decent hospitals. People.
You know one thing that is for sure is that the 1 trillion that we owe in debt is not even in Africa. Because if it was, we would actually see it circulating. We would see it circulating. Then why then do we still talk about dollar deficit, currency deficit when we have 1 trillion?
Exactly
1 trillion in debt circulating. So that means the 1 trillion is not even in Africa.
Yeah, all that money, they remember these puppets put it in the European banks and buy European lands, European houses. So that money goes right back to Europe. Because this shit is just so angry. I said, everybody's got to get a bullet. Everybody's got to get a bullet. You don't get to be like that moron in Bikini Faso when he killed Thomas and Court. I'm in Cote d'Ivoire now. Please forgive me for what I did. No, nigga, you got to get the bullet. You don't get to be forgiven. No Africans like to forgive everything. Fuck that. You got to get this bullet, nigga. All this forgive shit. No, let Jesus forgive you. That's what you believe. Let him forgive you after you get this bullet. But you got to get the bullet. Shit crazy.
So big shout out to Gigi Bajaba, General Mosquito, Danny Harrison, and of course everyone else was with me in the comments. See you on Monday. Much love. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Let me pay the more.